Hey, and welcome to another Dark Souls challenge run. Today we're going to be trying to beat the game using only exploits and cheese. Pretty much everything is fair game, aside from straight up hacking the game or beating a fight normally. So we'll be looking at boss skips, goofy exploits, and some good old-fashioned cheese strats. Starting class isn't super important here, since doing well in combat isn't going to be much of a factor at any point during this run. I picked the Bandit since that class starts with 30 arrows, and we need items for the first exploit. Picking a starting gift of firebombs would also work, but I want the master key for convenience, so Bandit and arrows it is. Alright, first exploit of the run. This, I think, is a relatively new way to skip the Asylum Demon. The only video I found doing this exact method is this one here by Splee5556. The only things you need to pull it off are items and patience. And a PC copy of the game. This won't work for console. After clearing out the hollows, you need to wedge yourself into this corner of the doorway and drop an item. Any item will do, but you should have several of them because this is super finicky and will take a few tries. Then you line up the top left corner of the soul counter with this line on this archway decoration thing. Gently tap W on the keyboard to turn without moving out from the corner. Then you have to press A on your controller on one frame and E on the keyboard on the next. If you do it right, you'll step directly into the wall and start to float up. Then you can do a running jump landing outside the asylum where you're free to leave, without making so much as a single attack against the demon. If you get the camera angle wrong or move out from the corner at all, you'll end up inside the geometry of the asylum and will have to use the dark sign to try again. Alrighty, next up is Taurus Demon. Since I've got the master key, we could go down below Firelink Shrine, through the Valley of the Drakes, into the secret tunnel, quickly picking up the Grass Crest Shield, sprinting backwards through Dark Route, to end up at the Undead Parish, skipping the Taurus Demon entirely. Or we could just knock him off his bridge. I'll be honest, I don't have a whole lot to say about the Gargoyles. There are a couple of ways that you can freeze the AI of the first Gargoyle, but I'm planning on showing off those tricks on later bosses, where not having to fight them is more of a big deal. There are so many ways to cheese these two dweebs. They're weak to fire and lightning, so black firebombs or gold resin melt their health bars pretty quickly. But that seems a little too normal, so summons? I freed Lotric, then exhausted his dialogue in Firelink, made sure to talk to Solaire on the Hellkite Bridge to get the White Soapstone, then corralled them both up onto the roof. Once Lotric got his head out of his ass and stopped trying to kill the random-ass hollows on the other side of the fog wall, we can just sit back and watch as the boys beat the Gargoyles to death with ease. In retrospect, the more interesting move would have been to leave the Gargoyles and use a death cam glitch to get past the gate leading to Sen's Fortress after killing Quelaag, but I didn't think about that until after the fact. I've got the master key, so we're skipping the depths entirely, because fuck the depths. Which means Quelaag is next. Big glitch coming up. To set it up, we have to first trigger a cutscene, then quit out and start making our way up backwards towards Blighttown proper. By very carefully walking to this spot right here, we can trigger the death cam without dying. Yeah, I really don't recommend trying to navigate in death cam with a controller. It's hard enough with a keyboard. While playing the shittiest version of Silent Hill, we have to then navigate down into the cesspool and into Quelaag's domain. Then, with the easy part out of the way, we have to blindly navigate out the far side of our combat arena. Placing down items can help a bit. And when we're past the fog wall that cuts off the arena from the second Bell of Awakening, we just quit out and... God damn it. My only advice for trying to navigate Quelaag's domain like this is to try to stick yourself to the wall on the right side. By rolling, you can at least tell what direction you're going. That and leaving items on the ground can let you know when you run up against the stairs. Then you just have to try to get yourself up them. I'll be honest, I was mostly just navigating by vibes. Now that we're on the far side of the arena, all I have to do is pull out my bow, thread the needle, then unload about 100 arrows into her spider ass. I could have just rung the bell, then used a homeward bone to teleport out of here, but then we would have had to do the death cam glitch again to get to Bed of Chaos, and nah. This run uses an absurd amount of arrows, so I'll be using soul dupes throughout the run. Let's go ahead and run through how to do that now. This method is only possible on PC, but there are other ways to dupe souls on console. You have to have a soul item and a full stack of arrows. You start by selecting your arrow stack, go to drop the full stack, then hit cancel. Get the cursor over the quit game button and put your mouse over the item tab. Then click the mouse and press A on the controller at the same time. If done correctly, you'll have the item tab and the quit game prompt up at the same time. Then use the mouse to scroll down to your soul item and hover over the use item button. On my screen, it was completely hidden, but you can see what option you're on by looking at the top left of the screen. Then, with the use item menu up, you just hit down to use 999 of the item and to hit OK. On we go. First step for the Iron Golem exploit we're going to be doing is taking out the fireball slinging giant, so that we can hang out up there later. The only thing we need for this exploit is a melee weapon, a bow, and some arrows. The more range on the melee weapon, the better. A halberd is probably the best weapon to do this with, but I already had the S-stock in my inventory, so that's what I'll be using. The idea behind this glitch is super simple in concept, but a fucking nightmare to execute. All you need to do is land an attack on the Iron Golem at the same time that his grab attack hitbox makes contact with your character. And by same time, I do mean literally the same fucking frame. The timing takes some getting used to. Too early, you'll do damage to the boss and get grabbed. Too late and you'll just get grabbed. But get the timing just right and you'll get flung back directly into a pillar. Are you fucking kidding me? Positioning is, apparently, very important. You want to be positioned in such a way that you and the golem create a line that's perpendicular to the fog wall. If you've got too much of an angle or are too close to the fog gate, you'll get teleported into a void, or into a damn pillar. But get the positioning right, and you'll get teleported to just outside the boss arena. Then, you have to just run up to the roof that the fireball throwing giant was on and dump another 100 or so arrows into his stupid little face. Next up is Ornstein and Smough. For this exploit, we'll need a shield, a fist, and a stack full of poop. Step 1 is clearing out the giant knights from the area outside the boss arena. Step 2 is baiting the silver knight to walk down in front of that arena, making sure to have a shield in the left hand and nothing in the right hand. Step 3 is parrying and riposting the silver knight while standing up against the fog wall. You'll know you've done it correctly when you trigger the boss intro cutscene. Step 4 is killing the silver knight so that we're free to execute step 5. Then step 5 is to chuck piles of shit at the fog wall until you inflict toxic on the boss. Most cheese tutorials of Ornstein and Smough have you run back to the bonfire after step 3. This will freeze Ornstein and Smough's AI, allowing you to kill one of them for free. But if you freeze the AI, you have to kill Ornstein first, because Super Ornstein, for whatever reason, doesn't spawn in when he should. Additionally, you only get the first phase for free, because Super Smough will spawn in as he normally would, forcing you to play the game normally to kill him. By not freezing the AI, we're free to kill Smough first, because Super Ornstein will spawn in normally. And we can safely kill the second phase from outside the arena. A single proc of Toxin is enough to take out the full health bar in both the first and the second phase, although actually getting the Toxin going in the second phase can be tricky. Super Ornstein doesn't have particularly high Toxin resistance or anything, he just doesn't stand against the fog wall nearly as much as Smough does. After you've inflicted Toxin, you're free to just stand halfway down the staircase and go make a latte. Now that we can get going on the late game bosses, we'll start with the Demon Ruins in Lost Izalith. Since the cheese for Ceaseless is just the standard way to kill Ceaseless, we're not going to be doing that. Instead, we'll be skipping the boss entirely. I'm only going into the arena to pick up the armor set since it has great fire resistance. I'm also making a quick detour to grab the Fire Stone Plate ring from the funhouse. And with around 300 fire resistance, a bow, and a single arrow, we are ready for the skip. First, we drop down here, being careful not to hit the death plane that starts right about here, and roll onto the closest rock. We then roll onto the second rock, and fire an arrow into the cave wall here to lure the Capra Demon into walking off into the void. One roll to get onto the safe spot here. 2 forwards rolls and 1 roll to the right to get onto this rock. Don't mind the blood stain. Two forward rolls puts you into a spot that doesn't look safe, but I promise actually is. Then 3 more rolls gets you just barely onto this last rock, and then you're home free. Sort of. The bonfire before Firesage Demon doesn't actually load in until after Ceaseless is killed, and the lava is drained. If you die to Firesage, or on your way to the boss, you'll have to redo the skip, unless you back up your save here and just do some janky-ass save scumming. Luckily, we have a reliable cheese for Firesage, so death is fairly unlikely. Alright, Firesage Demon. All we need is a bow and arrows. As soon as you get into the arena, go to the right and lure the boss into that corner. Then run around and roll through these routes. Then just stick to the wall, walk out of range of the boss's attacks, and shoot him while the dipshit runs into the terrain for the whole fight. A side note here that both the Firesage and Cenipede demons are technically optional bosses, because the shortcut unlocked with rank 2 of the Chaos Servant Covenant allows you to go from outside the Firesage demon's arena straight to Lost Izalith and the Bed of Chaos, thus being a dev-intended route that skips both bosses. Easy peasy. Time for Centipede Demon, the whole reason I'm doing this run in the first place. Let's see if I can recreate the glitch I accidentally stumbled across in my last video. So, assuming the glitch is consistent, I should just have to wedge myself into the side of the doorway here and wait until he grabs me. Moment of truth. Sweet. Now I should just have to run over here and... down he goes. For the bit of chaos, we'll be using a cheese that I've actually already shown off in a previous video. We need a bow and at least 2 firebombs. You really only get one chance at pulling off this cheese correctly, so you may want to back up your save here. Start out by running straight at the boss. It doesn't actually have any attacks that can hit you here in its first phase, so take your time setting up for this next part. Walk out to be on this line here, then use a bow to aim at this route. Throw a firebomb. Skip the cutscene, and quickly use the bow again to aim at this route, and throw another firebomb. Then run forward. Nope. Wait, what the fuck was that? Don't do that. Just get to the bug and kill it. The next Lord Soul is gonna be Neato's, but we need a couple things to pull this one off. Back to the funhouse once again for the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring. Then we descend into the depths. Huh, would you look at that? A useful mask just laying here in this strangely detailed empty room. Such odd game design in the back half of this game, almost like things are missing. At the bottom of the pit Patches boots you down, we pick up the skull lantern. Then zip back to Firelink and head back to the Asylum. Since we never actually killed the Asylum demon, we can't get back into the building, because the doors are still locked. That means no stray demon and no painted world. But that's fine, because we're just here to trade with an invisible bird. We trade the skull lantern for the ring of fog, and with a bow and arrows, we're ready for Neato. After equipping both rings, the skeletons won't aggro unless you get right on top of them. Then for Neato himself, you just have to get him stuck on the terrain. This can be done pretty consistently by just running up towards the central cluster of stalagmites. Then you can shoot a few hundred arrows into the boss until he dies. Neato can still do the Gravelord's greatsword attack, so wearing armor with good toxin resistance, like the Gold Hem Black set we picked up at Ceaseless Arena, is recommended. Another thing to be aware of is that Neato's hitbox is significantly smaller than it looks, so you'll have to aim for the center of the boss to actually land your shots. And with the Neato dead, we're done with the Lord Souls and are ready to go into the DLC. Well, I did make one detour first. Since we need to go to Darkroot to get into the DLC, I decided to go ahead and kill Sif. We don't actually need to do this since I won't be going after the 4 kings in this run, but I figured I might as well show off the cheese anyways because I think it's kinda silly. All you need for this is a bow and some arrows. You have to trigger the cutscene, then quit out to exit the arena. Then you use this brick to get just enough height to be able to jump here, where you can get a clear line of sight on Sif and shoot her. Now, you could go get the Hawk Ring from Anne Orlando to do actual damage here, or you could do what I did and use poison arrows so that I was free to go get cookies ready to go into the oven and just check back every few minutes to reapply the poison. They were lemon cookies with lemon cream cheese frosting and they were delicious. So since we're going to be here for a little bit, let's go ahead and talk about the other 2 Lord Souls. Both of those bosses have gimmicks. The 4 kings having, well, 4 kings in an arena that doesn't have a fog wall, and needing to destroy the crystal at the back of Seath's arena before damaging him. Unfortunately, these gimmicks means that the cheese methods I know of can't be applied to either of these bosses, and as far as I was able to tell, there aren't any unique methods to cheese either of them. So instead of fighting these guys normally, we'll be skipping them entirely, but more on that later. If I'm wrong about either of these bosses, please feel free to leave a comment correcting me with references to cheese methods, and I'll make an addendum to this video showing them off. Alright, just one more thing we have to do before going into the DLC. Setting up Poop Walk. You can do this with some fucky bullshit involving maxing out your weight limit, but I'm going to instead be doing the much simpler but PC exclusive method in Sense Fortress. You know you fucked up when you're using a Yimfa video as an actual guide. At Black Iron Tarkus with at least 5,000 souls, select the Balder leggings. Use the mouse to hover over the ammunition tab, then click and press A at the same time to buy the all-powerful. Actually, triggering the Poop Walk is super simple. With a shield in one hand and the in the other, block, wait around a second or so, then parry. If you see the T-pose, you're too early, and if nothing happens, you're too late. But you'll be able to see it when you get it. Now, the motion of all our animations are halved, so instead of stepping through the fog wall, we step directly inside it. As long as you trigger the animation far enough back. If you see the boss's health bar show up, try again from further back. If you see your arrows getting stuck in the fog wall, try again from further forward. When you get the spacing right, you'll be able to free aim and hit the boss. And if you have the Hawk Ring equipped, you'll be able to actually damage the boss. So, god damn it, hold please. Okay, as I was saying, you can do damage here, which means it's just a matter of time until the Guardian falls. Yeah! Artorias also requires a bit of setup. We will be killing him, but we'll have to skip him first. And to do that, we need fall control, 15 intelligence, and something to cast fall control. With all that gear, we lure one of the stone giants down this elevator to the outside of Artorias' arena. Then over here to this elevator that isn't active yet. Cast fall control and stand here, trying to fall directly on top of the giant's head. If timed and positioned correctly, you'll slide off the top of the giant's head and onto the stable ground around the elevator at the bottom. By quitting out as soon as you hit the stable ground, when you reload the game, you'll be at the bottom of the elevator, where you can then activate it for safety, before running backwards through the Chasm of the Abyss and Ulusil Township. We light the bonfire on the far side of Artorias' arena, and with that, we're ready to actually take him out. With the tricky part done, all that's left to do is trigger the cutscene by entering Artorias' arena normally and immediately quitting out. Then just warp back to Ulusil Township, listen to the mouth breathing, run up these stairs, and whoop, there he is. Just standing there, menacingly. Waiting to die. The last DLC boss is Manus. See those red glowies down there? Yeah, that's him. Can you guess how we beat this boss? If you said, stand outside the arena and shoot him to death, congratulations, you win absolutely nothing. If you don't want to do piss poor damage against endgame bosses, you could always go collect some embers and upgrade materials and actually improve your weapon. I'm still rocking the +5 longbow because I simply cannot be fucked to go collect anything else. With all the DLC bosses killed and all 2 Lord Souls acquired, we're ready to go kill Gwyn. Now, killing Gwyn will actually be very simple. Getting to Gwyn, not so much, because we have to pull off a wrong warp. Yet another frame-perfect exploit with a very specific setup. Back in Ulusil Township, we pick up the Purple Coward's Crystal. Then have the following inventory setup. A weapon in the right hand, a shield in the left, the Purple Coward's Crystal, Estus Flask, and Homeward Bone in that order. The Homeward Bone can be replaced with the Dark Sign if you want. I also ditched my pants so I could see the position of my character's legs easier. To actually do the glitch, you have to rest at the Lord Vessel and warp to Ulusil Township. Then stand on this staircase with your left foot off the floor. Then try to use the Purple Coward's Crystal and very quickly move forwards, take out your weapon, and switch to your Estus Flask. You want to try to use the Estus Flask as soon as you touch stable ground, but I ended up getting it by just mashing the use button. When you get the timing right, you'll drink the spooky black portal. Then you want to quickly switch to your Homeward Bone and mash use to open the menu and press accept to try to teleport to 2 places at once. If you're too late on the Homeward Bone, you'll teleport to the Battle of Stoicism Gazebo and will have to completely restart this process. Get it right, and the game will freak out and teleport you to the bottom of the stairs at the beginning of the Kiln of the First Flame. Now all we need to beat Gwyn is a shield and Old Reliable. We just avoid the initial attack with a roll, and head to this back right corner here. With a light equipment load and a running jump, you can launch yourself up onto this little divot. You can get a few shots off here, but we're mostly just waiting for Gwyn to decide to hop up. When he does, roll into him to get yeeted out of the main area, and bing bang boom, final boss of the game is stuck in the corner like a dummy. And there we have it. We've beaten Dark Souls with only stupid cheeses and exploits. This was actually a really fun run, and I learned a lot over the... Wait, 10 hours? What do you mean this only took 10 hours? The Quelaag Death Cam glitch alone felt like it took 20 hours. What the fuck do you mean